Good afternoon. Uh, Today we will be talking about seizures and epilepsy. So, firstly, come to definition of seizures. Seizure is a transient neurological symptom due to excessive synchronous neuronal activity. May be provoked by a reversible factor, lowering the seizure threshold, or unprovoked. So, all these terms are uh, important for excessive. So, transient neurological symptoms. So, there can be similar other symptoms as well. For example, patient is moving his limbs, right? Or patient has fallen suddenly unconscious, right? So that might be a syncope also. So and that might be a true seizure. Syncope, that is cardiogenic cause also. So how do we so first important thing is differentiation between cardiac cause of transient unconsciousness and neurological cause, right? So typically seizure which is neurological has persistent generally there are few kinds of seizure, either generalized, absence, myoclonic, or focal seizures. So generalized you have shaking of entire body. Absence, patient has sudden slight moments of vague looking, transient lapse of consciousness. Myoclonic, there can be focal seizures where your limb is moving, there is some aura. How they are different from cardiac syncope. Syncope also patient will suddenly fall unconscious, but then generally the neurological impairment is not there. What am I meaning by that? That is, patient will fall unconscious for some time, then he will rise within 2-3 minutes. While in seizure, typically the post-ictal phase is longer. That is, post seizure you will have about 10-20 minutes. Your memory is impaired, either involuntary urination or tongue bite is there. So this is very important to differentiate between seizure and syncope. So it may be provoked by a reversible factor. What does it mean? In that there can be metabolic cause, a toxic metabolic cause like hypoglycemia, hypocalcemia. uh, then patient is or by a reversible factor which is lowering the seizure threshold. You are taking some medicines, you are taking alcohol, and patient has left alcohol, so it alcohol withdrawal can also cause seizures. Then there may be some drugs, or it may be unprovoked, that is the cause is not known. So this is the definition of seizure. So as I told that seizure has to be differentiated from syncope, and the second thing is you have to determine the cause of seizure. So what is epilepsy? Epilepsy is greater than two unprovoked seizure occurring 24 hours apart, or one unprovoked seizure with 60% probability of further seizure over next 10 years. So we'll see that. So effectively more than one seizure one day apart is epilepsy. So let us discuss the cause of seizures first. Firstly, generalized seizures, that is involving the brain diffusely. So it is tonic-clonic. This is based on pattern recognition. That is, patient has contraction of muscles, the tonic phase. Then you have clonic, where intermittent relaxing and tensing of muscles. This is the classical sign. For example, he has pooling of secretion, tongue bite. These things are very common. That is why in generalized tonic-clonic seizure, we tell the patient to lie. We make the patient lie laterally. Why? Because the patient might drown in his secretions or her secretions. Absence seizure, here typical description is patient, the child will be in a class and there will be transient lapse of consciousness. Child will lie and suddenly he will become mum, or he will collapse in his seat and thereafter recover. So this is also another type of seizure. Myoclonic seizure, generally it is typical a marker of hypoxic injury, or from infantile syndromes, right? From those people who have these syndromes from childhood, the epilepsy syndromes, again associated with cerebral palsy, etc. Focal seizures, which involve a discrete brain area and implies a structural lesion. Focal seizures, typically your seizure will start from the involuntary movement will start from one arm or one leg, and then thereafter they will go on to other parts Why? Because it is starting from a structural area. If it is associated with impaired consciousness, it was known as simple partial seizure. It was impaired without impaired, so it is simple partial, and with impaired, it is complex partial. So now we call them focal seizure. And finally, it can get evolved to bilateral convulsive seizure. So seizure, one episode, right? Transient neurological dysfunction. If it is 2 episodes greater than 24 hours apart, so it is epilepsy. So what is status epilepticus? This is continuous convulsive seizure greater than 5 minutes, or 2 seizures without resolution of postictal encephalopathy. So patient is having continuous seizures greater than 5 minutes, or patient is having seizures and there is no return to sensorium, so it is life threatening and it has to be treated urgently. So what is non-convulsive status epilepticus? So here the patient remains in altered sensorium, but there are no motor manifestation. There will not no tonic contraction, no intermittent relaxation. So you will be confusing it for other causes of altered sensorium like poisoning, like sedation, right? So you'll be thinking what has happened, but actually it's a status epilepticus. So how do we know it is seizure? We have to do an EEG, electroencephalogram, for that. So again, as I was talking, there's a differential diagnosis. Syncope versus seizure is important. I'll again come back to it. So seizure, the aura is there. That patient has a premonition of symptoms which are going to be right. Syncope has typically diaphoresis, nausea. Convulsion is variable duration. Syncope, very importantly, less than 10 seconds. Now, very important, the post-ictal state that I was talking about. Here, the patient remains confused for 20 to 30 minutes, while in syncope, the patient we have, it is transient. Other clues are tongue biting and incontinence. What is non-epileptic seizure? Psychogenic seizure. Here, patient pretends. I mean, he might do it voluntarily, or it might be involuntary due to a psychogenic motivation. So you might see a side-to-side head turning, asymmetric. You will see a flail, large amplitude limb movements, diffuse shaking without loss of consciousness, and emotional symptoms. What are the emotional symptoms? The patient will cry and talk. This is not generally seen in seizure, but again it remains a differential diagnosis. So again EEG might help, or some people use prolactin. Typically in seizure, true seizure, your prolactin will go high, okay, but not in non-epileptic seizure. Other causes: metabolic disorders, migraine, strokes, etc. Takes asterixis can cause they are also cause seizures. So etiology of seizures very strongly by age. So without focal lesion, you had a seizure, you do a CT scan or an MRI, you don't find a focal lesion. So okay, so what can be the causes? It can be predisposition to seizure or epilepsy syndrome. Alcohol and drugs are very common cause. That is why you always take a drug history. Some medicines, for example, beta-lactams, tramadol, meperidine, these are also important cause of seizures. Antidepressants, hyponatremia, so sodium, glucose, calcium. These are the three major electrolytes that can cause seizure. Uremia can also cause seizures. Then with focal lesions, there can be major cause. Tumor, more common in elderly. In young, the trauma can be there. Stroke can be caused in India. Neurocystic infective causes like neurocysticercosis, tuberculoma can be very important causes. So questions are also often asked from to differentiate between neurocysticercosis and tuberculoma. Neurocysticercosis typically multiple, less edema, diffusely distributed. Tuberculoma is bigger, has more edema, and you can look at differences at other places also. The radiological difference between neurocysticercosis and tuberculoma. So clinical manifestation, as I told, aura, seconds to minute, there is a premonition with paresthesia, focal motor contractions, abnormal smell, taste, fever, depersonalization. Ictal period is between seconds to minutes. post-ictal phase between minutes to hours. So, and there will be slowly resolving period of confusion, disorientation. In some people, there can be a focal neurological deficit also. So it will seem like a stroke, right? Patient's hand is paralyzed. So, but this is due to seizure. That is specific situation is called Todd's paralysis, and it is often tested on MCQ exams. This question. So clinical evaluation, main thing is history, right? So you just differentiate seizure from other causes of transient loss of consciousness like syncope. So you have to talk to the witness, right? You have to talk to the nearby person, that what was his behavior, did he have aura, because patient will be post-ictal, right? What was the pattern of abnormal movement? Was there head turning and eye deviation? How prolonged was the loss of consciousness? As I told, that loss of consciousness would be brief in syncope and prolonged in seizures. Were there any other recent events like illnesses, fever, head trauma, sleep deprivation? Fever, recent fever might indicate an infective cause like meningitis, encephalitis, or a structural lesion, brain abscess, etc. Tuberculoma, neurocysticercosis. Patient have trauma. Generally, traumatic seizures can happen, can again relapse after years. So, because they cast a scar in the brain. Any sleep deprivation is a very important cause of seizure. That is why patients with seizure disorder are advised to epilepsy are advised to sleep well. Post and this is other important, because if you say the patient is driver and he has a history of seizure disorder, so you don't give him clearance for driving, because he can endanger the life of others when he's driving at night. So it is very crucial, the sleep deprivation part. Past medical history, prior seizure disorder, if he had prior seizure disorder, prior meningitis or encephalitis, which might have caused sclerosis in the brain, prior stroke or head trauma for similar regions. What do you see in examination? You see skin, right? Why? Because they are neuroectodermal disorders. So CNS manifestations are very common in patients with neurofibromatosis. And neurological exam, you should look for focal abnormalities. Then coming to diagnostics, full lights, full electrolytes, urea creatinine, glucose, LFT, toxic screen for alcohol, cocaine, if it is possible. If the patient was already on anti-seizure medicines like valproate, phenytoin, you can alter these levels also, right? But they may take some time, or levetiracetam. But these are more useful for checking if the patient was non-compliant. Otherwise, the therapy is essentially the same. So again, you have to do glucose. You have to check for electrolyte. What is the role of EEG? So routine EEG is useful in workup of first time unprovoked seizure, right? Because that is useful in determination of risk of seizure recurrence. For example, because 50% of patients with epilepsy will have EEG normal. It is useful only when it is positive. So it shows it is often useful in how long you should give therapy, right? So this is very important. And how do you increase the yield of EEG? By making the patient sleep deprived, or with repeated studies. Some people do long-term EEG hour to days, because short-term generally we do EEGs for 30 minutes, right? So that might not be sensitive enough to pick. But again, EEG is helpful in differentiating, as I told, between non-convulsive status epilepticus, or you are not sure on imaging. Normally, in our emergency, what we do is we send the blood test for all the kidney function test and glucose, for all electrolytes, as I told. We do a CT contrast CT on MRI. MRI is a better test, because then we do an MRI. And then we go on to do an EEG for a first unprovoked seizures. If the cause is known, then most likely it is due to that only, so we don't repeat it. Then we repeat an EEG when we are about to considering prolongation of therapy, say 6 weeks later, say 6 months later, if we didn't get any cause. When do we do a lumbar puncture? When you are suspecting of any fever, right? infective cause, you didn't get anything on the MRI, so we'll do an lumbar puncture. Importantly, in patients with HIV, you won't have typical signs of meningitis. So your rigidity of neck, etc., would not be there. Further, cryptococcal meningitis might present only with chronic headache and seizure. So doing a lumbar puncture is must in HIV patient with seizure. So as I told that, we'll do these investigation plus an MRI or CECT in emergency. Though how do we treat? So the treatment will depend upon, the first thing is the emergency treatment, and other treatment will depend on cause. So we'll treat any precipitating causes, for example CNS infection, alcohol intoxication, alcohol withdrawal. We'll start anti-epileptic drugs. Generally we don't start in one seizure, but in greater than 2 unprovoked seizures we start, or a single seizure with high risk of recurrence, meaning that is an abnormal EEG or an abnormal MRI, definitely or any underlying structural abnormality, the anti-epileptic drugs have to be started even with one seizure. Provoked seizure are generally treated by addressing underlying cause. Or if the patient has status epilepticus, that is more than 2 seizures greater than 5 minutes, or repeated seizures without any sensorium for 30 minutes, repeated seizure, patient doesn't gain sensorium. So obviously you have to look into many causes, many things, or structural abnormality, status epilepticus, severe presentation, structural abnormality, abnormal EEG. These are markers for starting anti-epileptic drugs. So firstly, when the patient presents, you have to give immediate anti-epileptic therapy, which I shall be discussing, and then the challenge is to how long and which anti-epileptic drugs to use. I already discussed this. Those who have structural abnormality, those who have status epilepticus, these have to be given for long, even for 3 to 5 years. So if anti-epileptic immediate treatment with anti-epileptic drug after first unprovoked seizure. So if you didn't get any cause, so generally the guideline is to do a 6-monthly evaluation and think if we can you can repeat any EEG and see that if we can discontinue that drug. But otherwise, in a known provoked cause, in a structural cause, typically you have to have a 3 to 5 year seizure free period to discontinue that drug. So which anti-epileptic drug has to be chosen? So I'll discuss that, but it depends on multiple factors like type of seizure, side effect, cost, mechanism of elimination, teratogenesis, drug interaction, and you have to introduce gradually, monitor carefully, and you have to withdraw if the seizure free at the very least for 2-3 years, and you have normal EEG. So these things are very important, and typically the anti-epileptic drug will run from 3 to 5 years, because you have to initially it will take some time in going over maximum doses. Then you have to document the patient is seizure free for 1 year or 2. Then you can withdraw. And different doctors have different guidelines, and very important in seizure, how long seizure free is before he is allowed to drive, as I told, right? So which drugs? Most commonly you will see phenytoin. It is very cheap drug. It is commonly used in our practice. So generally started at 100 mg 3 ds, 200 to 100, but there are side effects like gum hyperplasia, dizziness, ataxia. Very commonly used. Other commonly used drug you will see in practices, valproate, 500 to 2500 mg. But here you have liver side effects are very common, so you don't give it liver diseases. The side effects are tremor. Other common diseases, carbamazepine. So it is used most effective in focal seizures, while phenytoin and valproate are broad spectrum anti-seizure medicines. Carbamazepine 416 100 mg, but can cause aplastic anemia, hepatotoxicity in some, and can lead to diplopia, confusion, ataxia. So in focal seizures, say you have neurocystic sarcosis, tuberculoma, then it is used. A new drug not new exactly. It started 10 years back. Very commonly used because the side effects are rarer. Is levetiracetam. It is used in 1000 to 300,000 mg. You will see it very commonly used in our corporate setups and across world over. So the only side effect here more commonly is emotional liability. So you don't use it in patients with suicidal tendency, etc. But it is otherwise very commonly used. Other drugs are used generally by specialists uh, or are old drugs like phenobarbital, which are used by older practitioners, or in children where the safety profile is very well known. So again, if you learn, you must know about the side effects of valproate, phenytoin, ethosuximide, carbamazepine, levetiracetam, and the use cases. Ethosuximide is used in absence seizures. So these are commonly tested as well. You must know the side effects. These might be asked in your uh, MCQ exams as well. As I discussed, management of status epilepticus, you have to take care of, because patient will be having prolonged seizures, patient will be unconscious, patient will have no sensorium. So you have to take care of airway, and it is also asked as a short note. So you have to take care of airway, breathing, circulation. You have to see vital signs. You will have to turn the patient left laterally or laterally so that he doesn't aspirate on secretions. You have to ensure IV access. If the patient has alcohol withdrawal, history of alcohol, you give him thiamine, dextrose. You stat send glucose. You should do a RBS. You do a electrolytes, sodium, potassium, sodium, calcium, because these can also cause seizures. If the patient has anti-seizure, already on anti-seizure therapy, you can send anti-seizure drugs while starting with the treatment. And you have to do a head CT, immediate head CT, to look for any stroke or any structural abnormality. When the patient stabilizes, you can send for MRI. If the patient is stable, had seizure 1 or 2 days back, you can directly do an MRI. You can consider a lumbar puncture if the patient has history of fever. So you have to give anti-epileptic drugs, anti-epileptic drug after loading dose. Okay. So what is the loading dose? So see, this is the protocol. We start generally when patient is seizing. We start when patient is having status epilepticus. We start lorazepam, midazolam, or diazepam. Right. So 0.1 mg. So you can start at various doses, and you can give successive pushes till the seizures get controlled, and then you can load the patient with phenytoin, fosphenytoin, valproate, or levetiracetam. Phenytoin requires 20 minutes of 1 gram doses. Levetiracetam 1000 mg again over 10 minutes. Valproate again 1 gram over 10 minutes. So these are similar doses, around 1 gram over 10 to 20 minutes. Generally, in most cases, the seizures will subside by that after this, and then you will start with your regular IV anti-epileptic drug in wards. If the patient still continues to have seizure, then you can give again repeat half loading dose of phenytoin or valproate. If the patient doesn't get control of seizure, then you will have to give midazolam infusion or phenobarbital, right, or propofol, right. What if you don't have IV access? Then you can use IM, though ideally IV will have fast action. So these are the timelines: 5, 10, 30 to 60 minutes. So I hope it helped.